I've never seen just blatant racist white people before in my life, like in my face. The white people I grew up around was just regular, you know what I'm saying, or a little hood because they grew up in, my section. But I never seen like white people that were just like real full blooded, like I kill you nigga just because you a nigga, like type. Top of it, Coach E, and this is the third and final installment of my prison story series. And I'm going to deal with two subjects in this episode. The first one is going to be when I really realized that prison was real and I was really there and it got serious for me. And the second part is the time when I felt like I might not make it out. Now, I never did any long stretches. I've been in and out of county a couple of times for violations, a little petty shit. I've been to 3 different penitentiaries. I've been to Chino, I've been to Chuckawalla Valley State Penitentiary, and I've been to Delano. But I've never done any stretches, never done any real time for those who know what I'm talking about. But I've been there enough to have the full experience and to be able to speak on what I've seen in this experience. Even though I wasn't fighting life, and even though, I didn't have a life sentence, there's just some times when you feel like, damn, am I going to make it home? And it could be like that for some people because you can go in jail on a violation and you can get caught up in the mix of what's going on in the prison system, the politics, the riots and stuff, and you may not even make it home. So it's not a guarantee just because you got a date that you're going to make it home. You got to get to that date. I caught the chain, which means that I was transferred from county jail to state penitentiary in 2005. And I caught the chain to Chino. That was where I was going to go do reception at. And ironically, I caught the chain the same time that Trey D, a known artist, rap artist with the East Siders with Snoop Dogg, that's from Long Beach, had caught the chain. I actually met him in the holding tank in Long Beach jail when he caught his time. And he was talking to us and everything. Real cool, down to earth cat, real solid cat, but a real member. Never get it twisted. He's a real member. So I caught the chain the same time he caught the chain. And when we get to Chino, we pull up in the bus. This was the moment when I really felt like, damn, this is real. See, when I was going to the county in and out, it was just like, oh, this is all fun and games. And it was real in Old County because Old County kind of seemed like a prison too. But when I got to Chino, I'm like, this is really some big boy shit. And the whole scene from when we pulled up to how it looked and seeing guys looking out the window and like, you know what I'm saying, just looking at you like, yeah, we got some fresh meat type shit. It was wild when I went up in there. And I'm a little dude and I wasn't even as big as I am now, but it was just like, fuck, I'm here, but it is what it is. Now, when I get in, they put us in different sections. And I remember Trey D went to the Madrone section, which was 2-man cells, but with steel doors. So all they had is that little small window. But they sent me to Sycamore side. And the Sycamore side was the bar cells. But it was like a scene out of American Me because I was in an area where they had like 4 tiers, I think. I don't remember exactly, 3 to 4 tiers. And each tier is a row of cells, 2-man cells. And they're facing a window. And if you remember that scene from American Me in the beginning, the opening scene, when Edward James Olmos, who's the head of the Mexican Mafia, and Doc Holliday, who's the head of the Black Guerrilla family, is about to go down. And you got the blacks on this side, Mexicans on this side, and you got all the cells, and then you got people throwing stuff out of the cells, and then you got the windows facing, on this side. Well, that's the way Chino was set up. So you had the windows right here, and some of the windows was broken out because, inmates had threw things at the window to break them. And then you had these tiers and you had these cells. So I was like, fuck. It kind of like, and then you walking past every cell, getting walked to your cell, and you looking inside and you seeing this, it's just some real shit. And it was just like, fuck, I'm really here, man. I'm really here. And so I get to my cell and my cellie breaks down the program to me. Now, you never know what kind of cellie you're going to get, but I ended up getting somebody that was cool, a cat named Demon from PPHG out of San Bernardino, real solid cat. And it was crazy because I always ended up with solid cellies, but that's neither here nor there. But anyway, I get there, we on 23-hour lockdown. And the reason why we on 23-hour not 24-hour lockdown. We on 24-hour lockdown because in this particular area of the prison, CO had got stabbed. And how the story go was a CO had gave a weapon to one of the inmates to hurt somebody else. Well, that inmate decided to give that weapon to the individual that the CO wanted hurt. And when that inmate got an opportunity and got out of his cell, he went ahead and dealt with that CO. And so because of that situation, that whole prison was on lockdown because they didn't know if this was going to be an attack on all the COs or it was an isolated situation. Well, it was an isolated situation, but to be on the safe side, they had us locked down. So we wasn't getting let out ourselves for nothing. And anytime we were getting let out ourselves, we were getting handcuffed and escorted. If we had to go to medical, if we had to go to showers, whatever we had to do, we was getting handcuffed and escorted. And so it was the full jail experience. And this was my first time in prison. And that's when it really got real for me. And I realized, like, man, I'm really here. You know, I was in reception, so I couldn't contact nobody, couldn't get phone calls, couldn't get visits. So I just had to write whenever I got my paper and stuff and got my store. So it got real for me when I got to Chino. Now, there was another situation when I felt like I might not make it home. And this was another time I was doing a violation. I was on parole already and I was doing a violation and I had got 5 months with half for my violation. Now I was in the county, but they decided to transfer me to Delano to finish out my violation. Now I was pissed because I only had 5 months and they're sending me to the penitentiary and I'm not even going to make it out of reception to the main line to do my time. So I was going to spend the rest of my time in my violation in reception. Remember, in reception, you don't get phone calls and you don't get visits. So I was cool with my little violation time, but now that I realized I had to do my violation in reception, I was pissed because now I can't talk to my wife. I can't communicate with her or nothing. So I'm like, I'm pissed. My head is fucked up, but I'm like, fuck it. What can I do? So I catch the train to Delano. Now, when I get to Delano, I'm in 2-man cells on a 23-hour lockdown type of situation. We get 1 hour a day room and we get to eat our breakfast in the day room at the tables and we get to eat our dinner in the day room at the tables. And once or twice a week, we'll get to have yard. But it depends on if there was fog or if it wasn't, because we got morning yard. So if it was morning time and it was too much heavy fog, they wasn't finna let us out. So a lot of times we didn't get no yard. Now, in this particular module, we was housed, the blacks was housed with the Norteños. And the Norteños, we pretty much get along with. The Sureños was put somewhere else because they don't get along with the Norteños or they didn't get along with the blacks. So they were segregating everybody. But it was pretty cool. The vibe in there was cool. And even though we got along, it was still protocol to how we got down with each other. We wasn't taking showers at the same time. We wasn't eating, I think, at the same tables, or I don't remember correctly, but it was still, you know, lines being drawn, but we was a little bit more cordial than the blacks and the Sureños or the Southsiders. So I'm 2 weeks for having to go home from doing this time, and I'm feeling good. Everything's going good. All of a sudden, during breakfast time, when everything is wrapped up and we about to get ready to go back to our cells, it crack off. And I'm talking about it get jumping. It's like 10 fights going on at the same time. I remember a couple of cats that was in this module. It was a guy by the name of Mustafa from Bounty Hunters. It was a dude by the name of Demon from Villains. I remember Marcelli. I think at the time Marcelli was either K-Swiss from Raymond or it was Itchy Rat from Insane. It went down right before I'm getting ready to go home. Now remember, I'm in reception. So I'm not able to communicate with my family what's going on. They just know I'm finna come through letters in 2 weeks. I had got my date and I was gonna come home in 2 weeks. But now that it had a riot, low key, they putting us on lockdown. Now we're already on 23-1, but now we on complete lockdown where they're not letting us out to eat. They're not letting us out for day room for 1 hour a day, and they're not letting us out for no yard time. So we on complete lockdown, and they're about to run through every cell and they're about to size the situation, see what's going on. Is it an isolated situation? Is it something that's going to continually happen? They got to find out, because if they open up these cells and we get it cracking again, it's like a constant problem. So now we just on lockdown. So I'm thinking to myself, fuck, I thought we got along with the Norteños. I thought we ain't had no issues. But it is what it is. It's prison. And if there's an issue, You know what I'm saying? And it can't be resolved cordially. It got to be resolved the other way. I never found out exactly what happened to make it crack off, but it ended up getting resolved and we ended up getting back to regular program. But the thing is that I felt like maybe I'm not going to make it home. And that put me in a bad space because I had got that close and then something like this crack off and I felt like, well, damn, anything can happen if we get into it with people that we historically get along with. And now all of a sudden you know, it's like this, what's going to happen with my time? Is they going, you know, are we just shut down for good? Is they going to keep the same program? Like what's going to happen? And you know, it wasn't a major situation, but it just and it wasn't the first ride that I was, you know, semi involved in, but it was just like, damn, why it had to happen now? You know, I was all ready to get out of this motherfucker, and now I'm on 24-hour lockdown. They not talking to us, they not dealing with us, and we don't know what the fuck happened. So a lot of things transpired when I was locked up. Things that made me scared, things that made me fearful, things that made me hopeful. It was a lot of reflection being done. It was a lot of self-inventory being done. I read a lot of good books. I met a lot of good people, and I met a lot of bad people. And, you know, on both sides of the fence, from the COs to the inmates. You know, it's good COs, it's good, you know, it's bad COs, it's good inmates, it's people that they just passing through, and it's people that really deserve to be there. You know what I'm saying? See, prison is a cage for animals. And what I realized is if you're conducting yourself like an animal, then you deserve to be in a cage. A lot of people might feel like human beings should never be treated that way. Well, some of these human beings you ain't never been around. And I don't care what the circumstances that turned them into that human being. Some of these people, they don't get it until they're put in a situation like that. And a lot of times it's better for them. Some of them even like it because they can't control themselves. So they need somebody to give them that discipline and control. It's a saying that I used to hear black people say a lot of times. It's like, bruh, you need to get your child and discipline them for the police do. And a lot of people didn't get that discipline. And so now it's the police giving it to them. Another saying that black people say a lot is, you know, you're going to mind somebody. And it's the real. I don't care who you are. Eventually, you're going to have to listen to somebody. And you can have it be your parents, this teacher, you know what I'm saying? Or you can have it be the parole officer or the CO or the police. You're going to mind somebody eventually. And I learned that I was kind of hard headed and that I had to mind somebody sometime. And when I learned that it wasn't so much about if you a boss, you don't listen to nobody. It's just that you limit the people you listen to and you choose the people that you have to listen to and that you have to be subjected to. And that's what it was. That's the main lesson. And you have to go through things and find it out your own way. And I had to find it out mine. But for one thing I can say is that I don't regret anything that I experienced in my prison experience. It made me a better person. I'm not going to go all out and be like, it's the biggest blessing that happened to me. I don't feel like that. But what I do feel like is that that experience made me a better man, and it showed me me. It showed me what I am and what I can endure. Okay, so this is a bonus. I talked about when prison got real, and I talked about when I felt like I wasn't going to get out. But there's another thing that I wanted to discuss was experiencing real racism. And in the California Correctional Department or the rehabilitation system, racism is real. And it's not a racism like you see in society to where it's like name calling and people just don't like you because they don't like a specific race. It's a racism based upon survival. And it's based on the fact that in order for me to be able to survive this situation, I have to pick a side. And that side I have to pick, I'm picking it based upon race. And so in the California prison system, it's segregation and it's segregated by race. So the Hispanic got their section, the whites is with the whites, the blacks are with the blacks, and then you got the others, which include like mixed race people and people that's non-Hispanic, black, or white. Now, the first time I seen like a real wood, and a wood is a white boy, that had the swastikas tatted on them, that had the clovers on them, that had the, you know, the thunderbolts on them and stuff like that. Like he had all the symbolism of a person who, like a real, like either an Aryan Brotherhood member or a skinhead or a neo-Nazi. It tripped me out because I've never seen just blatant racist white people before in my life, like in my face. The white people I grew up around was just regular, you know what I'm saying, or a little hood because they grew up in, my section. But I never seen like white people that were just like real full blooded, like I kill you nigga just because you a nigga, like type of shit. And I wasn't scared. I respected it. The funny thing about it was I respected it. And I respected it because it was honest. See, on the street, you get people that are smiling in your face but hate you behind your back. But at least in this situation, we talking and being cordial, but I know, when it's time to go, you know what I'm gonna do. And I respect that they have a side that they've chosen and they're not straddling the fence. And so the first time I really encountered racism in my life was in the penitentiary system. And it's not a racism that you would think of that happened like in the South or on the streets where you're dealing with people trying to say, we don't like you because you black. It's more of a thing of I got to stick with my race and you got to stick with yours so that a line could be drawn. So in case something happens, we know how to deal with it. So the prison is sectioned off like that. So there's places like there was tables for the whites that they ate at. You couldn't eat at their table. There was tables for the Mexicans to eat at. You couldn't eat at their table. The blacks had their table and you eat at their table. They had bars. So, you got pull-up bars on the yard. There's the Hispanic bar, there's the black bar. We had days for the TV. It's the Hispanic day, it's the black day, it's the white day. And you even had toilet separations and shower separations. It's the South Sider shower, it's the black shower, it's the South Sider toilet. So things were separated. And I didn't understand it at first, but I respected it. And the reason why is because, I grew up in Long Beach, very diverse city. And yeah, I know about the gang aspect of it, but I've never been around that many white people. And at least this type of white people. And I've never been around Hispanics that I couldn't communicate with. And the most oddest situation was I had a plug on the streets from Southgate that I used to get a lot of work from and used to be able to get, all kind of stuff from. And I ran into him in county jail. But me being green and not knowing the politics at first, when I see him, I'm like, what's up? He like, bro, I can't really, say I mess with you on the streets, but it ain't like that in here. And I was like, oh, okay. I thought he was acting funny at first, but then I was like, nah, it's not like that. You gotta respect the politics and how things is done in here. So even if you have a friend that you fuck with on the streets, in prison, you can't just go and say, oh, share food and share commissary and do all that. Nah, bro. There's rules and there's politics, and it's to keep problems from happening. Because when there's problems between two races, they have to be resolved in a way that, helps everything remain peaceful. And so if I, as a black person, get into it with a Mexican, it's not going to be no isolated situation between just us two. They whole group is going to be like, hey, and they do that to keep from situations like this individual being picked on or this individual being jumped or this individual being, separated from the group and being treated, badly by another group. You know what I'm saying? So it's a way to keep problems at bay. And it works because a lot of times, we don't get into problems because we don't interact with each other. The problems that the Mexicans have is between their own. Problems that we have is between our own. And whenever we cross lines or cross paths and there become an issue, we deal with it.